Welcome back to the Football Casual, and today we're doing another debate reaction, but a bit of a different format. Zach Jalab, once again, go check him out, subscribe to his channel. I'm watching. Do all Premier League fans think the same? They're going to basically put themselves on a scale of how much they agree with the statement, and then they're going to debate about it. And me, I'm going to give my takes based on what they're saying. I'm going to evaluate the arguments, but also give my opinion. So let's get straight into it. Like, subscribe, all the good algorithm stuff. Let's go.
Today, I've got all these football fans here to see whether they agree or disagree with some of these statements. Winning the FA Cup and finishing 6th and not getting Champions League football is better than finishing 4th but winning no trophies.
Winning the FA Cup in 6th better than finishing 4th. No trophies. I'm curious to see how the people rank this, as because they are filming this in London. So I'm curious to see how fans who live in England rank this, because these are, I'm not gonna assume they go to every game, but for the most part, these can be more frequent match going fans, and these are fans that can participate in local celebrations and things like that. So I feel like the arguments from people in the UK are going to be different than international fans like myself, who, I'm watching these games on television at home. Is not quite the same. But, and I'm willing to admit that. I'm not ever going to make the argument that I can experience the same things here in New York that a fan can experience in London or in Manchester, in Liverpool, or whatever. So I'm curious to see what they think. But me personally, I want a trophy. I'm just going to put it like that. I want a trophy. Top four is cool. I do like being in the Champions League, but I want the memory of a trophy. I feel like it's more likely that international fans want top four because they want Champions League and the money that comes with that. And I can see that perspective, but I like celebrating a trophy, even if it's by myself at home, rubbing it in my friends' faces that we won this, you won that. I like that. But let's see how fans think about it.
6th and not getting Champions League football is better than finishing 4th but winning no trophies.
No trophies.
Come on, boys. You can.
What's wrong with you people? You can already see it here. I'm surprised. Arsenal's here, Chelsea fans here, and just heads up, I am a Chelsea fan, but you see 2 Liverpool fans over here, 3 Liverpool fans over here, and a United fan. So you kind of see it.
My God, that's mental.
So a part of it probably maybe depends on like how long your club has gone without a trophy and all of that. But the way I look at it is football was very much about finances these days. And the money you get from being in the Champions League is like 100 million in itself. If you go far in the Champions League, you get even more money. If you win the Champions League, you get into the Club World Cup, which I don't really like, but there's a crazy amount of money in it. And I think it's better for the long-term sustainability of a club to be in the Champions League just through sort of the money that you get. And it also helps you pull better players in the summer window. Now, I guess if you're more of a bottom mid-table club, you've won your trophy, you don't have the depth to be in the Champions League, then I would probably argue FA Cup and 6th is better. But I think if you support like a big 6 club, I think Champions League is really important. Like for Manchester United this season, obviously I know we've won 2 trophies under Ten Hag quite recently, but I think getting back in the Champions League will be bigger for us because of our finances.
Quickly, Palace fan.
Interesting. I can honestly hear it, but I think if you're there though, here's the thing, like I can hear if I was making that argument as an international fan, but I feel like for her, if you're there celebrating a trophy is just different. Like it just feels different. I can hear it though. For a big 6 club, those finances are important. But at the end of the day, it's not my money. I'm in it to experience things, have good experiences, and I mean even bad experiences. Though you take the lows with the highs, but for these smaller clubs, and I'm sure a small like a mid-table or a bottom-table club is going to make an argument now, and I can already predict they're going to say, I don't care about the money. It's more about the having that memory. I low key think, and correct me if I'm wrong, if you support a team that isn't really in these conversations often, of course the trophy is amazing, but I can kind of also see from the perspective of a mid-table club, if you push up and get sixth, and get the FA Cup, that's amazing. And I honestly, yeah, you do take that, and that's going to be an amazing experience, especially like a Palace who won the FA Cup, or Newcastle who won a cup recently. That's an incredible experience. But if you push up and you finish fourth as a Palace, for an example, and you go experience the Champions League for the first time in your life, and you get to go to away days in Europe with Palace, I feel like I can't say that's equivalent to winning an FA Cup, but I feel like that in itself is also pretty amazing as an experience if your team doesn't get to do that often. Maybe not on the same level, but I can see that as well.
I'd say, well, Palace fan, Henry, you won the FA Cup last year and finished 12th.
12th again. Who
12th
gives up?
again.
Finish the chart.
But the only rebuttal I've got to that is, as a fan, and I kind of get what you're saying in your circumstance uniquely, but as a fan, it's become such a thing where fans are so focused on the finances of their clubs. I couldn't care less what's going on in terms of financials at the boardroom at Palace. We won the FA Cup. We finished 12th. Like, unless we win the Conference League this year, touch wood, it's not going to get better than that. And that moment, that day, the entire occasion will live with me, Ollie, every Palace fan for generations. It was incredible. I do not care about, even if we finish Europa League and got however many millions of pounds of qualifying, I would never take that any day over winning the FA Cup. Never.
I don't want to say this disrespectfully, but
To be fair, it's different to say that for Europa League because people probably respect Europa League similar to FA Cup these days, which sounds crazy. I know it's a European competition, but in terms of like Premier League fans, don't really rate, at least Big Six fans only rate Europa League in the same way they used to, which is kind of a shame. But I think if he's saying, oh, if we got Europa League, I wouldn't care about that as much as FA Cup. But I honestly think, and I can't say 100% because the trophy, the memory of the trophy is crazy. But I do think even slightly, there is a big jump in the way fans feel about Europa League to Champions League. And if your team, if Palace had gotten Champions League, I do think it'll be a little bit more difficult. I don't know if he'd be in strongly disagree. He might just be in strongly or slightly disagree or whatever. I don't know how they're doing the scale.
obviously an FA Cup does a lot more for your guys' clubs than it does for my club. And the reason why I'm here is not because of the finances, is because
Know that.
clubs than it does for my club. And the reason
Leicester fan in a Premier League video. I know this is an old kid, but hey, brother, Leicester these days, spooky. Hey, yo, hold up. I know they filmed this earlier in the year, but Middlesbrough, come on, bruh.
reason why I'm here is not because of the finances, is because for me, the best days of my life are when we won the Champions League in Madrid, when we won the Premier League. So being in the Champions League and having the prospect and the chance of being able to, recreate that night means more to me than, winning an FA Cup, which to me is just a bit of a sweetener. It's not disrespect. When we won the FA Cup in 2022, it was great. Personally, the prospect of winning the bigger trophy is more important for me.
But the question is winning. It's not winning the Champions League. It's getting top four or winning the FA Cup.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but winning. I'll give it to you after. Getting into the top four gives you a chance.
No, yeah, I get that, but it's not a guarantee.
So
that's not the
chance
question.
of winning the Champions League.
You think a chance of winning the Champions League is better than winning the FA Cup?
Yeah.
See, that's false because
You can't say it's false. It's his opinion, but I see what he's saying. I think he fully understands what he's saying. It's just a chance. It's not a guarantee. But for him, that chase, that feeling of the chase, is going to be better than winning the FA Cup. Now, once you crash out of the Champions League in the round of 16, then I don't know if you'll still agree, but I think it's fair to have that opinion. I think it's a little wilder being there, having that opinion, but I can still understand having that opinion. It's just, I think especially, I still want trophies, but especially if I was living in the UK, I would want to win trophies for sure. Even to that extent, though, it does depend on the trophy. Like Carabao, I'm not going to pretend like I love the Carabao Cup and I'm desperate to win the Carabao Cup, but it's just something to put your club on the right track, like winning the Carabao Cup. Okay, maybe you're starting to build something. Even that you'll take.
chance of
question.
winning the Champions League.
You think a chance of winning the Champions League is better than winning the FA Cup?
Yeah.
See, that's false because yesterday was the Cov Parade for us going up. Probably one of the best days of my life. Slept for 45 minutes. When am I ever going to do that again? Like,
Hopefully never, mate. Hopefully never.
To do something like that. And being a football fan is about making memories. And like you said, I couldn't care less about the finance side of football. It's not going in my pocket. I don't care. It's about making memories as a football fan. That £100 million for getting into the Champions League or whatever is, if I get hit by a bus next week, that £100 not going to do anything for me. But on my deathbed, I'll probably remember the time I was at the Cov City Parade. I'll remember the time Bobby Thomas heads one in and we get promoted and everyone goes crazy. I'll remember the time we won an FA Cup. 1987, Coventry won the FA Cup, only thing we've ever won. In the city, it's still spoken about to this day. Everyone remembers where they were on Cup final day, 87. No one's going to remember where we were when we finished 4th place. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much, it means so much more to win something as a football fan.
That's
because
fair.
that is the only reason you should watch football as a football fan. It's not about the finances. It's not about we have a chance to win this. It's about actually getting over the line and winning something. It just means that's what everything of being a football fan should
I was
be.
gonna say one thing, but I'm not on strongly agree because I can understand where you're coming from, and obviously as an Arsenal fan,
Okay, before an Arsenal fan gets into it, because we're not trying to hear that. But let me stop. But I hear where he's coming from, and I think that point he made about remembering where you were when you won something is massive, and I think that's something you just can't really quantify. But to that same extent, the reason why a United fan or a Liverpool fan, the two most successful clubs domestically in Premier League history or Europe or English history, I should say, are able to say, "Oh, the FA Cup doesn't matter as much as the chance to win the Premier League," is because it gets harder to remember where you were if you're winning that more often. And that's no disrespect to Coventry. That's no disrespect to Palace. That's no disrespect to whoever. Like he's saying, everyone remembers where they were 87 when Coventry won the FA Cup. Yeah, but if Coventry were winning the FA Cup every 4 years or won it 6-7 times in the last 20 years or whatever, I mean, that's a lot, but still, then you wouldn't really be remembering every one. Like, oh, I was at this pub when they won this one, and I was at home when we won this one, and I was at the stadium when we won this one. You probably pick out one or two that you remember the most, and then the rest of them kind of blend together. And I think that's where the bigger clubs kind of, it starts to all meld together. The biggest ones you remember the most, but then at a certain point, you're chasing, I want to go to a different height. I want to go win the Champions League. I'm going to remember that for sure, compared to I'm going to remember our 6th FA Cup in my lifetime, But I see where he's coming from. It's hard to really compare when your clubs are achieving different things.
I was gonna say one thing, but I'm not on strongly agree because I can understand where you're coming from, and obviously as an Arsenal fan, obviously like finishing second and not winning anything, I've been getting all the talk over the past few years. But one thing I was gonna say is that there are less big teams in England than small teams. So, for example, maybe like the 80+ teams, for example, that might not have the opportunity of winning a trophy such as the FA Cup. We saw with Crystal Palace last season, Leicester not too long ago. Before that, who were kind of in the situation we're talking about in terms of top 4 Europe or winning an FA Cup. What that does for you in terms of the memories and all of that stuff, obviously for me, FA Cup, I've won it a lot. So I don't feel that, but it's such an important moment. And then even, for example, when you look at Wigan that won the FA Cup, that went down that same season, those are memories that will live with you forever. So
I feel like I 100% I agree with you, and it is relative according to what club you support. And silver is the currency of success in football. The best day of my life was winning the league. The second best was winning the Champions League. But as a Liverpool fan, and this is a specific to my club argument, every European night we have is magic. Like I remember games, even ties where we've been knocked out. That tie at Stamford Bridge, I think it's 4-4. Fabio Aurelio scores a free kick. Like I remember that as a magical memory. So these nights stay with you. Look, I would have loved to have won the FA Cup this season. I'm gutted that we're going to end the season without silverware. But I think for Liverpool, with that special relationship with European football, like some of the nights we've had, even on the way to not winning competitions, will stay with me for just.
I want to quickly just give the mic to T really quickly, because we are actually in a situation right now where this could be possible, right? We could finish and miss Champions League football. Yeah. We could beat Man City with Callum McFarlane as manager and win the FA Cup.
All I got to say is, damn. I mean, obviously this is pre-recorded, but now as a Chelsea fan sitting here, I'm like, we finished 10th and 1-0, bruh. Oh my God.
Oh, hell no!
This is going to be painful to sit through.
were in disagree and you moved over to agree. Why so?
I'm a Chelsea fan. I've watched Chelsea grow up my whole life winning trophies, every single year winning trophies. You can ask people who know me. When obviously we had the Club World Cup, we won that. I know people don't rate it. That's whatever. And there's an argument to be made that the endurance of having to play through that has caused some of our issues this season. But if you ask me if I would have swapped that, even if the Club World Cup, I wouldn't. I love trophies too much. It's what I'm used to as a Chelsea fan. This season, if I was to ever say that I would have rather finished fourth than win the FA Cup and finish sixth, which is a possibility, it's more of the manner of how the season has gone in terms of certain expectations that then got worse and worse and worse. But ultimately, in the grand scheme of things, I just love trophies too much. I love how they make me feel, and top four to me is good. It's not a trophy.
I want to quickly, let's pass my to Joe.
That's fair. I agree with them. I wouldn't give up that. It's a shame because our season ended up being absolutely diabolical, but I still wouldn't give up that Club World Cup trophy. And I know, like you said, people don't rate the Club World Cup, whatever you want to say. The feeling going into that final against PSG, and everyone saying PSG is going to mop the floor with us, coming off destroying Inter in the Champions League final. And for us to go beat PSG the way we did in that final, that's a memory that's going to last with me because it was so unexpected. And obviously things went downhill after that, but I'm not trading that memory for us to have gotten top four this season and then we're playing Champions League next year. Yeah, cool. We're not going to win the Champions League anyway. Like, I've got to be honest about that. So for me, I'm not trading that.
Fan here, kind of, I guess, unbiased in either way, not in the Premier League.
Can't fathom either.
You obviously strongly agree.
Yeah, it's just not even a debate for me. I mean, I can't, as I say, fathom, imagine even finishing top four or winning the FA Cup. But in terms of like winning, we won the Carling Cup in 2004. That still spoke about. It's literally the only trophy we've ever won. If we were to win another, it'd be, I'd miss my child's birth for it. That's the level we're talking. Misses would kill me, but yeah, that is the level we're talking. I do understand, like you say, Big Six fans. I think Liverpool and Man United especially, no disrespect, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. Obviously Spurs, yeah, totally get it. Yeah, Arsenal have won so many FA Cups, but Liverpool and Man United, they are like obviously far and beyond the biggest teams in England.
But you must remember those UEFA Cup memories with like Juninho and stuff, and that great Middlesbrough team, and like Fulham fans. I bet you remember that season where you got to the final incredibly fondly. Like, these things do stay with you. European football is magic.
Yeah.
Obviously it's different if you haven't won something for a very long time, but I'm sure people still speak about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I got to the final, got beat 4-0. Obviously, if we won it, it's a different matter. But then again, you come to the argument: would you rather win this trophy or qualify for the tournament? Winning the Europa League, yeah, I'll take that over winning the FA Cup because it's it's a standpoint in Europe. But if it's them European nights, like we did some unbelievable comebacks, Basel beating Roma. But them nights specifically aren't remembered as much as the night in Cardiff when we won the cup.
I don't really like rude and
fair. I mean, I was trying to make that argument earlier that maybe the European nights could mean something more or just give you similar memories as winning a cup or domestic cup. But he laid it out there. He experienced both, and the winning of the cup still held more weight. But even then, he's still comparing the Europa League. I think Champions League is a different level. I mean, I don't think it is a different level. And it's easier to say when you can't tangibly make that comparison. If you actually experience a Champions League night away, like say you get put in the same, I know they don't have the group stage anymore, but the league phase, if you get a league phase night away at the Camp Nou or something, New Camp, however people call it, I don't even know what it's called these days, or the Spotify spot. If you have an away night at the Spotify spot for Middlesbrough, that might hit similarly. If you get to go travel there and experience that atmosphere, that might hit similarly to winning the FA Cup with Middlesbrough. I can't say 100%, but I think that would be an interesting thing to experience.
Specifically, aren't remembered as much as the night in Cardiff when we won the cup.
I don't really like rude and presumptuous, but I do feel like there is a larger proportion of match-going fans on this side of the room, and I do feel like those memories that you rude and presumptuous, but I do feel like there is a larger proportion of match-going fans on this side of the room.
This is low key. low-key what I was talking about at the beginning of the video before I really heard the arguments. I think if you're a match-going fan, that that this is not even an argument for you. Not even an argument for you. And that's what I'm saying for me. I can understand if I or similar fans from around the world who can't experience these matches week in, week out, or go to a final to have that experience and that memory in real time, like with other fans and celebrating and stuff. I feel like that's not even an argument. So I would understand the fans from around the world are like, actually, I want to finish top four, have a chance of a Champions League run or whatever. But if you're a match going fan, I really don't see how it's an argument. And if I was a match going fan, I would be in strongly agree with these guys. Right now, I'm kind of just in agree or slightly agree, whatever they call it. But hey, man, it might get spicy right now.
And I do feel like those memories that you create with the people that you go with. Look, we haven't got to an FA Cup final in my lifetime. The last time we won the FA Cup was in '91. We won the Carling Cup in '08. Got to a few finals since then. Or even like the Europa League last year, which obviously gave us a gateway back into the Champions League. We had our worst season in my life, finishing 17th, which, despite the fact we're down here again, has been a large anomaly for me in my life as a Spurs fan. But I would not swap that. Having that experience of going to the people that I've been going to Spurs my whole life with, to experience going to Bilbao, seeing us lift that trophy, the days that followed that, I wasn't thinking about the Champions League. And I know we're talking about a different tournament here, but I was thinking about those memories. And that will, even if we get relegated this season, like those memories will last a lifetime. And it's about the people that you go with. It's about that experience of having it. And also, like, I think the FA Cup is a bit of a weird one because obviously it's lost a lot of its mystique. Like the FA Cup back in the day, like you speak to people of our parents' generation, winning the FA Cup was considered a bigger thing than winning the league at that time. You think about the FA Cup final, the build up to it, like the whole day, 9 o'clock in the morning, it was on telly. It was one of the only times that people would actually be able to watch live football on TV in this country as well back in those days. And I do feel like it's lost a lot of its allure because of greed that's come into the game as well. No FA Cup replays, all that kind of stuff, more minimal chances for people to create these giant killing stories. But if we're talking about winning a trophy, and I've seen us win 2 in my life, I would not swap that feeling of being the people that I've been around with, going to Spurs with my whole life, for just getting back in the Champions League. We've been there, we've got to a Champions League final, not won it. I still remember that weekend in Madrid. I know obviously we weren't expected to win, but I'd still take those memories of getting to there, nearly winning a trophy, having that thing, than, okay, we're back in the Champions League.
But Ben, I've got to make the point.
I hear it. And I fully agree. I hear his point. And I think, too, that's a big part that this entire thing comes down to. I feel like the FA Cup is a tough one to make in this comparison because people just don't feel the same way about the FA Cup as they used to. I mean, easy for me to say as a Chelsea fan, or probably easy for a Liverpool fan or a United fan or whatever to say. And for a Palace fan, of course, they're going to feel like FA Cup, that's the pinnacle, whatever. And, you know, obviously Palace went on to win, they win the Conference League this year. But the FA Cup just doesn't, the way it's spoken about is just not the same anymore. And I just, like you said, it's probably just a money thing, the way things have gone over the last 20 years or so to kind of diminish it. But you just don't hear people really talking about the FA Cup and the importance of the FA Cup the way they used to. And it's kind of a shame if you actually really think about it.
You could get relegated this season. And I understand what you're saying, because the way I looked at this question is I'm also looking at it at the stature I hold Liverpool to, because, and I understand being a match-going fan, there is a lot more memories.
Does come into it, like it's relative expectation. Of course, you've been spoiled for so long being in those. Like,
if I'm looking at Liverpool and we come 6th and we get the FA Cup and we come 4th, for me, both seasons are still failures, because how can Liverpool come 6th? Because I'm always looking at the goal is to win Premier Leagues, win Champions League. So I get that you've had an amazing memory with Spurs coming 17th and getting the Europa League, but that always has an impact. And the fact now, everyone thought, oh, Spurs, they'll just go back to where they are. Coming 17th has had a huge impact on the fact that you could go down. If I flip that, for instance, for Liverpool, I'm not taking the Europa League to potentially play the Championship.
Can we ask the Leicester fan here?
Yeah.
Because, like, just standing here the whole time thinking about it, and we talk
before they get into this Leicester thing, that's a good point, too. It's different. It's hard because now the argument's straying and he's talking about Europa League versus relegation and all that. But I do agree with him. I'm not taking the Europa League for Chelsea to go down to the Championship. Personally, I'm not taking that. But I want to hear this next argument.
If I flip that, for instance, for Liverpool,
I'm like just standing here the whole time thinking about it, and we talk about Spurs finishing 17th, maybe going down. Would you still care? You won an FA Cup and a Premier League, and you're in League One now.
What do you think, Scott?
that's crazy.
You won an FA Cup and a Premier League, and you're in League One now.
What do you think, Scott?
That's crazy. Emphasize that last.
I mean, still the greatest Premier League win of all time. But yeah, League One. Hey, Jamie Vardy was at least having a party back then.
And that's not. I'm not making a dig, but I think it's like the perfect.
No. You're
example to prove the
doing
point.
my job better than me, mate.
Yeah, I feel like we do fit this question very, very well because whilst obviously we won the league to get into the Champions League, the following season, whilst we tried to battle in the Champions League, we got to the quarterfinals and we were unbeaten at home and it was incredible. But what did we finish, like 12th or something like that? The worst champions ever. I will remember the European nights, but that's because it was our first ones. The FA Cup final, I managed to go. We won it in 21. Wembley only had like 10k people in it because it was just coming out of COVID. Lucky to go. I got to go with my family. I went with my nan, who we were the team that had got to the FA Cup final the most without winning it before that year. She'd been like all 4 times in the span of 70 years or something. So to be able to be there, like Ben was saying, with the people that you go with all the time, to see that moment that you will never, ever forget. Of course, we finished, 5th back-to-back times, and we got in the Europa League. I went to like Napoli away, I've been to Roma away, and those are amazing experiences, but the trophy is the thing.
So I was going to say, if you look now, obviously, Leicester are going into League One, and you think back to not the Premier League, because obviously that is the outcome. What is that next best? Is the FA Cup or the European away trip?
European trips were good, but it doesn't come close to the FA Cup for me.
Hey, man, that's literally the perfect example, the perfect, I guess, summary to this entire argument. Even though I still wouldn't be strongly agree, because I can understand the perspective. He kind of summed it up perfectly for Leicester, who experienced the highest high any club can probably experience given relative expectations, winning the Premier League as Leicester when they won it, and then even also winning an FA Cup. He also had the chance to have away nights in Europe, and he's saying the FA Cup still hits harder. And I think he didn't directly say this, but it does bring up an interesting flip on the argument that the bigger clubs are saying, oh, we win a bunch of FA Cups or trophies and stuff, so the trophies don't hit as the same as the chance to go win the Champions League and having those away nights in the group stage and the knockout tournament. But you could also flip that and say, well, you guys go to the Champions League pretty much every year, and you have, or at least some European competition pretty much every year, and you had these away European nights every year. You could also flip that and say those memories might start to blend together, and those might not hit the same because you're having those all the time. But that trophy in the middle of all that might stand out. So it's an interesting argument. I could see both sides, and I'm probably still going to stick in just the agree, not strongly agree.
Okay, lovely.
Okay, well, perfect timing. That was the end of that segment. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, though. Would you rather come fourth and finish 4th, get Champions League, but no trophy, or finish 6th, get the FA Cup, but you don't get Champions League? And I'm curious not only what you think about that, but also comment. If you do comment and give their answer for that, comment what club you support, because I think that also does play a part. Even though I still agree and think I'd rather have the trophy as a Chelsea fan, I wouldn't be surprised to see Big Six fans going the other way. So comment what club you support, and then comment what you think, which one you would rather have. But interesting debate. Shout out Zach. Go subscribe to his channel if you're not already. And I appreciate you guys for watching. If you made it this far, like, subscribe, all that good algorithm stuff. I'll be back soon, probably with the second half of this video. Peace.